Peace, family. We are now live. We should be live right now. I'm with the God A Rashid,
The legend.
the legend. Yes, I promise you. I promise you. That's you gotta make the I promise you shirts, right?
Promise you.
With the I
For
promise
real,
you.
with the promise hand. You feel
With
me?
the promise.
Word up.
Oh man. Yo, let me know if y'all can hear me. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Because y'all see we at the we in Black Magic Studios right now. We in BK, we in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
You know what I'm saying? I had to take over Brooklyn because AA left Brooklyn. So I had to come to Brooklyn. My
That's right.
AA just left Brooklyn,
That's
man.
right. Talk about it. Tell him. Tell
Now
him.
they can hear. Okay. Shout out to my brother War Moon. I see War Moon. Shout out to Divine Warrior, Charlie Mack, Artificial Records. I see all of y'all. Let's I want y'all to share this video. I'm gonna get to some ads for some black businesses, and then we'll be right back. We're gonna start the show. We ain't gonna be too long tonight because I gotta get up early tomorrow, family. But I definitely want to do a show today because I got a show with Wayne Chandler tomorrow. So I wanted to get my brother before he get out of town.
That's wow. I attended a Wayne Chandler lecture
Oh yeah,
at the I saw a set
that's what's up.
years ago.
Years ago, right?
Yep.
Damn, that's what's up.
Ancient Future. Shout out to Wayne Chandler. He's a legend.
Paul, they saying they not hearing you for some reason.
Shout out what? I gotta yell?
You're
Is
not.
it on?
Yeah, I turned it up. I turned it up.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I turned it up. Yeah, you good now. You
I
sure?
start screaming in this one.
Y'all can hear A now, right? I just turned it
Yeah.
up. Let me know if y'all can hear AA. I just turned it up.
Legend.
You said his volume is low. Y'all can hear now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, so let's get to these ads and I'll be right back, family.
Hey there! Had a bad dream? I have dreams too. Some parts are scary and some parts are fun. Always remind yourself, it's only a dream and everything will be okay. I had a dream about being in a forest too. Check it out, my pet Petey was with me. Order your copy of Kayla Petey and the Forest on Amazon today.
Hey family, this is King Simon. Don't forget about getting your new motivation session at 347-496-1022. And don't forget about the Cosmic Alignment Workshop on May the 15th. Go to zenbar.org. That's zenbar.org.
And don't forget, family, I just mentioned the brother's name, the master teacher, Wayne Chandler. May 21st is going down the Qigong Energy Training Workshop. The brother will be live tomorrow night, but go to WayneChandler.eventbrite.com for more information on tickets. All right, family. And with that being said, let's get back to my brother A Rashid. Hey, man, I told you I like that hat. Everybody know I got a collection of hats, man. I like that hat, brother. That's fly. You said Westside Gun gave you that one.
Yeah, this is from the Supreme Clientele merch. I want to say, but shout out to the homies, man. They be putting it together. You know, the master of marketing. They master marketing. You know, if you sell a product or a service, you should always have some merch to accompany it, because when the people wearing it is also wearing the message outside of your purview. You know what I'm saying? So it keeps the narrative flowing efficiently. You feel me? For real.
Indeed. I want to well, to today's show, brother, you came in the game, you was known as the Kabbalah God. You put the whole black community on the Hebrew language, an understanding of Kabbalah unlike anybody else I've ever seen come into this community. And I want to first thank you for that, my brother.
I appreciate you, but you know what though? I'm gonna tell you something. People don't know about the times when scholarship hasn't caught up. You know, when the community scholarship didn't catch up to what it is that you're doing. And what happened is people don't be there when your brother be lamenting, and I might shed a tear because nobody thought that what I was saying, 10, 15 years ago would have relevance. And now it's extremely relevant. You know what I'm saying? We demonstrated in many worlds that the metaphysical conversation about ecclesiastics and the its biblical composition. The Bible is composed of Hebrew letters.
Moving a little closer to you. Just move here like closer, yeah.
Yeah, the Bible's composed of Hebrew letters. And why not Why wouldn't we want to indulge ourselves, in an understanding of what threads these belief systems and myths together? So when I first started this, people was like, they thought I was trying to, I don't know, I don't know what they thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I appreciate you highlighting that. Yeah, we did bring awareness to particular subjects that are now extremely relevant.
Facts.
For real.
Facts. So one of the things that's always talked about in culture, not just black culture, is this fear of the dark side. And when you think of the dark side, you think of like Darth Vader and the power that was in the dark side. And they told who's the dude they told to stay away from the dark side?
Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker, yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember Bobby talk referring to Darth and referring to Darth Vader and saying that's where they got the whole Star Wars story from. And that's known as, I guess, the forbidden door or the forbidden Sephiroth or something like that. So I want to ask you, I asked you months ago, you was like, yo, that's it deals with knowledge, Darth.
Right.
So can we go into this scary dark side that we've been taught through our American culture for years to stay away from? What's the deal with Daath? Daath, my brother.
So they ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. I hope they ready. Cause it's like, if you ready, if you think that we about to get into a spooky conversation here, it might upset some people. Some people want the spooky side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want that. And shout out to brother Bobby Hammond, as well as my brother, my big brother, my master teachers, both of them in that respect, and also Reverend Phil Valentine. And shout out to brother Marcus Klein. In his periodicals. I remember years ago, Reverend Valentine did an overview of films, and he mentioned Darth and its significance and association to Darth Vader, right?
Right.
So now, something very interesting about the film narrative. So I want to teach my student body and people who are aware of me and want to become a student of what it is that I have to offer, is that one of the things is you have to learn how to learn. So learning how to learn takes you out of just the philosophical conversation. A lot of my students have over the course of years told me that they no longer debate with people. They've removed themselves from that because they understand how to learn. So when you posture the question, you used a popular culture reference and you use Star Wars as the reference. So let's go right there. And how do you say the dark side in Hebrew? Is what I would ask the audience, right? The way you say the dark side is actually not Daath, but it's connected to Star Wars very interestingly, because you remember they used to have the Sith Lords. You remember that?
Right.
The Lords of the Sith. And Sith is Set. And Set is Sutin. And Sutin is Soot. And Soot is when you have a chimney, they have to get people to clean your chimney. They have to clean the soot from the chimney. Now, where does soot come from? It comes from the burning, from Kim, that which burns. And then we had a deity and the dynasties under the Sutin influences. Correct?
Facts.
So now we have what's called in the Kabbalah. In when I say Kabbalah, I'm gonna make a distinction. In the K Kabbalah, right? Meaning the more orthodox mystic approach, there's a concept called the Sithra Akra. And the Sithra Akra means the dark side. And the Sithra Akra, the root of the word Sith is of course again Sut, Sutin, but Sod also. You hear the word secrecy. So that means that the contemplating the African in in uh in African's existence on the planet Earth, one must contemplate the application of blackness and what blackness means, and in various cultural paradigms and understandings is extremely misunderstood. So you have blackness maligned in many respects in many cultural paradigms, and it's misunderstood, and people don't understand that it's an actual it's a reaction to acts of sorcery. When you see the color black, you see the working of a work that's done in the unseen.
Mm.
So when you see Darth Vader, this is a very significant archetype. I would tell people, I would suggest that you read Joseph Campbell and indulge into his narrative, because he speaks about how the hero and the hero's journey and some of the things that the hero will have to face. And I will never forget, as a child, my father took me to see The Empire Strikes Back, Rich. And in the film, Darth Vader tells Luke Skywalker, after or before he cut his hand off, he said, "I am your father." You heard?
Mhm.
And I never forget how young I was. I was like, "Damn, is this this what your pops do?" And I was looking at my pops like, "Man, you nigga, you better not even play with me like that, not even a little bit." You know what I'm saying? Like, don't cut my motherfucking hands off. You know what I'm saying? So this shows you the myth, how it plays out on the mind,
Right.
right?
Right.
So now, if you notice in the film, Darth Vader operates from the unseen. They have a scene in the film where one of the generals, where the gray suits and shit was sitting around him and was trying to mock him and was like, "Yo, you got so much of this allegiance to your dark and primitive religious beliefs." You heard?
Facts.
And Darth Vader just started choking him from the unseen mentally. You heard? He was one of the people that knew how to tap into a third force. You heard? Mentally. You heard? So
Yeah.
now, when you hear people say that Kabbalah is, that Daath is associated to the dark side, they're speaking from another branch of Kabbalistic parlance that we would spell with a Q, that's more entrenched in Hermetic philosophies, which regard and which are regarded by and sought after highly by Western occultism. You heard? So there's a clear distinction. There's a world of some of one of the greatest books I ever read on the subject of Kabbalah only mentions people from the Western approaches only once in one page, and then speaks about them not even in high regard. They speaking about they was like Aleister Crowley and them is like the fakest shit ever to Judaism. You heard? So I'm like, when you get into Western occultism, a lot of it is cookie cut, a lot of it is fly by night, and they make it up. And because of popular culture and because of things like Wikipedia and stuff like that, where anybody could write anything down if it sounds cute and nobody's there to cross-reference it, right? You go look up what is Daath, and they say it's where all the Sephiroth connect. And I was like, wow, this is wild that this is not what it is. You heard? It has nothing absolutely to do with that. And many trees of life in its depiction over a course of several centuries, you can see the tree of life depicted without Daath there. You can find Daath not mentioned in many people's literature. You heard? So the best book on, if somebody was to ask me what is the best book on Kabbalah, I'm gonna tell you the best book on Kabbalah is the Torah. You heard? Or the Tanakh, the Hebrew scriptures is the best book on the text. So when we speak of words, or we speak of the received doctrine of mysticism, we speaking to a people who have been oppressed by any overt use and application of religious ideology. All the while, there's a priesthood behind the scenes who don't believe in none of the stuff that you be sitting up believing in. You heard? So the ideology and the concept was for them to create an automaton, somebody who's just going to operate religious context. And people pick and choose parts of the Bible that they love and that they like, and then parts that they don't like. So it's all contingent on your understanding. So when we get to words like Daath, I found in our community, an African American community of those who desire to improve the quality of their understanding and their knowledge of occult principles, what they'll actually do is they'll do like this shooting from the hip kind of contextualization where everything gets filtered through, no matter what it is, with even a lack of understanding. If you don't understand something, this says your melanin. You heard? And then you could be walking around having and facilitating people walking in error and speaking about concepts that they don't know nothing about. So when I hear people speak about Metatron's cube, Metatron's this and Metatron's that, and I'm like, y'all don't even know what y'all talking about. And y'all associating it to concepts that if you knew what this came from, you would be operating with it in a different modality that might be able to benefit you. But we sound like parrots. We like to parrot what the pilgrims say and sound intelligent and negate what the origin of what something truly comes from. So when I tell people this and I say Daath comes from Africa, and the word Daath is still being used in Africa, in Brazil, in any place that they practice Yoruba, Ifa, Santeria, the word Daath is present. So when I say that to people, you heard? Yeah. Then you have to create this dialogue and an overview of qualifying. Why did you just say that, AA? And this is the thing with our people. I've been saying this, King. The scholarship was not available at the time amongst our people to qualify what I was saying to make it significant for them. So linguistically, we run the world. We are, however, the most forgetful people in the world. We rule the entire world, King, with our nuances and our sounds and our first identification in terms that we attribute to concepts that we used readily. So now when you push to me in front of me a book where it's flying, talking snakes, you heard? Levitating prophets, talking donkeys, flying monkeys, all type of shit inside of the Bible, right?
Right, facts.
They just be going in, and then people be like this, so and so, and people really be trying to do this, son. They be like this, so and so lived for 900 something years, and then he had a kid, and all of this, right? And then people even have the audacity to associate the Anunnaki to being giants or giant skeletal structures and shit and turn it into aliens and all of that. And I'll be like, this comes from a lack of knowledge and aping the Ophe, meaning you are mimicking the parody of your oppressor's lies and his inability to understand your African contribution to reality and history. And this is why I sell my books for $100. You heard? This is why I'm doing a class in Chicago, and I'm refining the message as much as I can. And I have a scorpionic approach to teaching, so it's very oversimplified. So I can only actually cater to people who truly want to learn. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to just trying to walk around and parrot these conversations in these circles. And a lot of conscious people, they want the information so they can sound strong in a conversation around in a group of poor people. You heard? So I'm like this. I hope you get something out of what I'm saying and can matriculate what I say into a means by which you can facilitate getting you some finances and some fiscal integrity, not to be walking around parroting what other people say and acting like you fake mad, because that's the first stage of consciousness is anger. You heard? Anger as to why you ain't never known none of this. So now when you say the word Daath, King, how do we first become identified with the word in our experience? It appears inside of the Tanakh. And for the listening audience, I know I got students in the listening audience. I don't know what type of student you is, because I can't see the list and all that of the people, but I know my students that I talk to and that have all the books and that have attended classes and that are teaching operatively. They know that I would say to any term, go find it in the text, and then you narrow the words around it and find the context of what that word and why that word appears in the text. My students, if they look up the word knowledge in English, and I'm gonna give them an exercise. You go to BibleHub.com, BIBLE hub, HUB.com, and go to their search engine and put any word you want inside of their search engine. Go to BibleHub.com and put the word knowledge in. And then there's another bar that has all the languages that you can see this term appear. And you go right to the HEB, the Hebrew, and go look at the Hebrew and go, and it will offer you for whatever text or whatever chapter, verse, or appearance in the text. It's going to offer you the location and actually show you very specifically where and what you are looking for and where it's at and what the word is, and it's going to show you. But this ain't going to serve people that don't know how to read the Hebrew. If you ain't got time to remember 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, your English is not even popping. Your English is meaningless, in fact, and you walking in error. And a lot of people attempt and act like they teach it. I don't care what location of the teaching galaxy that you come from. If you teach in Pan-Africanism, if you teach in yogis, and you teach in mysticism and massage and crystal sciences, if you speak in English and you don't know Hebrew alphabets in the archetypes, you are wasting your time fat mouthing with our folks. You heard? Because there's a deeper meaning intricately woven into this language. English is very magical. It's one of the only languages that occupy a space where you can actually say, like, when, for instance, I'm reading a play right now called The Caucasian Chalk Line, and it's about, I'm reading it in commemoration of what's going on right now with all of this, the bullshit going on with the wars and whatnot, in quotations, and this seeing the argumentation used and employed by in these little political terms, and how people is acting like they all political and shit, right? But it really comes down to survival. So I'm reading, and in the preface they say that in the Germans have a preoccupation with using mad words to describe stuff that when they translate it in English cuts down the amount of words by almost half. You heard? Mm-hmm. But however, when you get to Hebrew, English adds on words by up to a half. You heard? Mm. So you get into, and you speaking, and this is another thing that people of color must understand this. You come from an ancient people. A lot of y'all think that your ancient lineage and y'all greatest contributions to humanity and to the globe is books, and that's not the case. Books come as a result of your lack of mindfulness and forgetfulness that came around sometime around the time of the 18th dynasty. The Egyptians must have got a download from the universe, and they started feverishly writing down everything that they could. They was writing on calf skins, anything that they could find, papyri of all kind, because they had already received the message that the people would be forgetful. They'll forget who they are. You heard? So if somebody has already done it and they went to the BibleHub.com and typed in the word knowledge and they go pull it up, I like the knowledge phrases that come from the book of Proverbs and what's the other one? The Psalms. You heard? Because it uses the term knowledge within a contextual framework where it is mentioned along a linear descent model of other terms. These terms, two-dimensionally, if you tell me a story, say you tell me a story, Rich, right? And you say, the only thing I want you to do, Rashid, is to write down what I tell you, but don't write it down, draw it out, right? So if you telling me a story about a cosmology and the rule is I can't write down what I learned from it with words, I have to write down, I have to draw it down or etch it in the form of art. What am I going to do? I'm about to draw a bunch of circles. You heard? And interactions. And those interactions are going to be subjective lines and drawings and paths in between these circles, which are objective. You heard? And then here we have the tree of life. The tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life, comes from the book of Chronicles, bro. You heard? The higher part of the tree of life, the part of the three major Sephiroth above, it actually comes from a lot of terms in Psalms and Proverbs. You heard? So can you imagine me having this dialogue and telling people this and speaking on this, and don't nobody know what I'm talking about, but yet they can tell me everything about the biblical context, the biblical this, the biblical that, the Bible this, the Bible that, and they speaking in terms of like, yo, well, Moses, I can't stand when I hear somebody tell me this shit, Rich. I promise you, this shit hurts me and it breaks my heart. And I can also tell that you don't know nothing when you tell me that Moses studied in Egypt. You heard? He studied magic in high sciences in Egypt. And I'll be like this, you a little baby. You a baby. There's no such thing as Moses. There's no such thing as Moses, and none of them biblical prophets ever existed. And you're a small boy and a child for clinging on to your slave master's narrative. These very same stories was used to enslave you. And how did we get so interdimensionally fucked off mentally that we are under the impression that we have a space or reality inside of a book that enslaved us, King? And we from pre-book, we from oracular traditions. So all of our traditions stem from people who was like this. And then when you pull this rug up from under the Negro mind, because you know it's a lot of people in consciousness that's still religious. You heard? They pump fake and acting like, you know, they get the jollies from being around everybody and whatever, and just being like, yo, we pro-black, but you don't know your Hebrew alphabet. And then you don't know that the number 666 is hidden inside of terms all throughout the biblical narrative under the word sutin and soot and sod. You heard? Sorath is one of the terms. Sorat. You heard? Meaning the darkness is the way. You heard? And what they're talking about, they're not talking about the philosophical darkness that you've inherited from your Eurocentric English, because you was even afraid of your own self. You see your own self and you scared of your own self. And then a lot of us, we grew up, bro. The most horror films came out in 1982, King. You heard? And it all came as a result of this, you know, white folks, man, sitting up playing with the narratives given to them by what's his name, H.P. Lovecraft and all this Cthulhu garbage. You heard? It has nothing to do with my spiritual practices and my ability to demonstrate that my religion is based off of removing negative sorcery away from me. The way that our people were able to find out who was hating on them and who was trying to get them at them, they use this term. They would go seek after it. It's called an Odu, and this is where the word Daath comes from, King. You heard? So when you go get a reading from Rahaku, you go get a reading from Oba, in particular Oba. You heard? Because Oba, as an initiated mind, has to use divination practices. So he can't just tell you, and I've known people that have gotten readings from Oba and call me and say, "Thank you, bro. You saved my life, bro." You heard? Thank you. I appreciate what you just did. You saved my life. Because ain't no way Oba, and I don't even know your business. Oba is able to read divination readings and then go like this. He does the ritual and he's able to tell you things that you didn't even know what's going on, but there's things that's around you. You're like, how the hell does he know this? You heard? So for you to sequester and to look for things, you have to go through a winnowing device. Winnow, like a winnow. WINN. I'm not the greatest speller in the world. WINNOW, a winnowing device. And to give you an example of what a winnowing device is, let me digress first, and then I'll bring it back to the winnowing device, or collectively just put it in perspective. That, have you ever lived in a Jewish community and you see a center, and it's called the Chabad Center or the Chabad Temple, where the term Chabad, CHABAD, is employed? Well, it's an acronym, Chabad, and it's an acronym for a winnowing device. Now, what is a winnowing device? How many of you in the listening audience actually have a vehicle or car? If you have a car, many of you have to employ the use of oil so your car can perform. When it's time to put oil into the vehicle, there's a specific tool actually used. You heard? The tool, like if your car needs oil, it's different from your body. If you ashy, you rub oil on your external surface. You heard? You don't oil the car by rubbing oil on the car. You just don't throw a bottle of oil on the car. You go get a device. The device is called a funnel. A winnowing device, another winnowing device is called a shud. A shud is how you say breast in Hebrew. When you say shaddai, it equals the number 314. 314 in Gematria, 314 is a very significant numeric symbol because it represents the infinite powers beyond the number 3 and the irrational fractions of 22/7. So now when you get into that and you understand that the breast is a winnowing device, if you was ever breastfed, the only way you can get that milk is through that device. It's a winnowing device. So like cars need funnels to pour oil in them, humans need breasts to have the galactic milk of the galaxy in the form of their mother's milk, almost like the same way milk arrives or water arrives in the center of a coconut and you have to get it out. It's the same way. So what is Daath? Daath is the fount of the winnowing device. Daath is the location where knowledge is the bridge that brings wisdom and understanding into the world or the mind of those who sequester and ask for it. You heard? When you go and ask the universe for something, a lot of people think they under depression, and this comes from years of speaking English ecclesiastically and like watching TV and shit and believing in the lotto, right? That you're going to sit there one day watching daytime television and Maury, and that God is going to bless you with a phone call, or you're going to go down to your mailbox and there's going to be a check in there. You heard? That's going to change the outcome of your life. And many people think just thinking about shit like that is going to help them. You heard? A lot of that mind power shit, it starts getting corny when there's no narrative in there that you actually have to go do something. You know what I'm saying? So you get people who will sit up and they'll be like this, I don't have to, all I got to do is use my word. You heard? I just use the divine word. And I tell people, don't be somewhere, be naive to think that you using divine words is enough to make you satisfied when you hungry. If I was hungry and I was like this, all I did was just go like this, rich, food, 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 and then use the force and all this shit. Do you think upstairs in the kitchen that is some invisible force occupying with my imagination is making me a sandwich? You heard? And that it's going to come down the stairs on the plate? You heard? And deliver itself to me? Hell no. You heard? So our use of words is to enamor and give our physical body the ability and the know-how as to how to seek after that which we desire. You're going to have to get up and go do stuff. So in order for people to activate what Daath is, you got to understand what Hukmah and Binah is. You heard? So we could be talking about, and that's like going over people's head if you don't know tree structure, if you don't know the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and then you don't know the alternate methods of numbers. So the Kabbalists offer, this is why I'd be very wary if people speak of numerology if you're not a student of Kabbalah and you speak English. You're doing a disservice to yourself and it's to everybody that you're teaching. You heard? So you can say the numbers 1 through 10 using archetypes. You heard? Not just the number itself. You feel me? So when you say a number, like you say the number 5 to me, in my Kabbalistic parlance, I place the number 5 on the left side of the tree of life, and it deals with the planet Mars. It deals with the color red. It deals with aggression, and it deals with the delineating according to a quintessential model. You heard? And it's the location where righteous anger exists. You heard? As well as too much anger turns into terror, which is pakad. You heard? So I got these in my mind. So when somebody say a number to you, or anything for that matter, I got a whole series of references to run all of these narratives in, that now I have control over the physical world because I know all of the nuances connected to them. It's like this. I come in the space, there's a beautiful chair here. Chairs is one of the most significant technological advancements ever created by humans. You heard? The ability to sit elevated, you heard? And be able to do so and have, you can accomplish tasks from a chair, and you can also relax. You heard? So these advancements express themselves in the human desire to express themselves. So we have cultural morphologies. So the word Daath has always existed because prior to that, it was called and you find in Sumerian and Akkadian writing, you find this term Uti. You heard? Uti, which means it's a divine truth. It's a divine truth that's drawn down from the initiate. It comes from a higher source. Where back in the day, in order for us to find truth in a situation, we would go and seek strength from the situation. How do we find strength? See, we could be speaking very simply without English inside the context of our culture if we only but knew the key phrases. So seeking strength is also seeking knowledge through sacrifice of something. The Wizard of Oz, when they say that term, the Wizard of Oz, bro, they're talking about the sorcerer who sacrifices the goat. You heard? The word Oz actually means the goat, and it means strength. You feel me? Those who know about the number sciences of Kabbalah, they know that the number, the word Oz equals the number 77, right? I would tell my students, you go to numbermatics, like Illmatics, you go to numbermatics, Numbr Matics, Matics, and whatever Kabbalistic numerological number you bring out of your narrative is dead and stinking unless you understand what the number does in the universe without you being there to see it. So you want to look for terms biblically that have propitious number placement, prime number placement. But let's go here. And this is why I get frustrated, Rich, because a lot of the stuff that I was trying to introduce to people 2 years ago, King, I needed to introduce them to that so I can get to the place that I am at now to actually tell them that you needed to know this first for me to tell you this now. And the thing that I want to tell them now is that those words that are in English, which are translated from the Hebrew, are all incorrect. They are only omen text readings, clearly and coherently describing acts of sorcery such as zerkadu. Zerkadu is the cutting of the throat magic. When somebody play with you and talk too much, you run in your mouth. You think that you're going to use your words to try to cut me down or speak negatively. Even the nonverbal words, the psychoacoustic thoughts that be in people's mind when they be wishing evil on you. You heard? Our religion was to manipulate the magnetic field in order for us to push that shit away. We always talk about mind power. What if you got hate around you and they don't have to tell you, you know what, you know this. We live around people, non-blacks and non-brown people. They just be dealing with us. They don't really fuck with us. A lot of people don't really fuck with us. They've learned culturally to deal with us. You heard? So you never know what's going on in the psychoacoustics of these people's mind. You heard? Especially if they're enthusiasts with black culture. You heard? I'll be like this. Oh, y'all niggas is crazy if you don't really appreciate or you could find beauty in the experiences from people that was enslaved by lies. They actually told the smartest and most ingenuitous and brilliant people in the world that they had a God that existed outside of themselves that they can't channel, that said that they can't light candles and play drums no more, and that their genitals is evil and that they curse because of their color. And I'll be sitting there, Islam more, Shalom, King, praise the Lord, whatever, all of y'all, and all of y'all got a book that say black people is cursed because of the color of their skin. But none of y'all have ever spoke to that because none of y'all don't know nothing about the books that y'all got because none of y'all don't even know the Hebrew alphabet. I never met nobody that smart, bro. I don't know a lot of people this smart as my students, Rich. Word is bomb. You heard? That's why I had to create an environment and a tribe to even have these dialogues with, King. So people is looking for flying donkeys, talking serpents, and that you ask a nigga, how did Moses split the Red Sea, bro? Ask him. I bet you somebody ask him right now, how did Moses split the Red Sea? And a bunch of post-slaves who don't got nothing to do with no Bible is going to give you, or nothing, none of that. It's going to give you what? The Charlton Heston version from the movie, that Moses split the Red Sea with a staff, even though it doesn't say that he had no staff inside of the text, bro. You heard? So I'm like this. It's a bunch of lies, King. You heard? Have nothing to do with nothing. And we are weird for trying to find historicity in it. And I'm telling people, y'all don't know nothing. Y'all don't know enough to fuck with me like this. I don't want to sound arrogant, but it be hurting me, son. that I have done the work, and I have sat there and I've had the Sumerian text next to the phonetics of the biblical narrative, and the biblical narrative is mimicking the Akkadian and Sumerian that's speaking solely of ridding oneself of sorcery and getting hatred off of you. Then this one, God is wasting his motherfucking time telling me this one is begets that one and this begets that one. They were so lazy with the translation. They got this whole blocks of shit. There's all these names, and they saying this nigga's related to this nigga's related to this nigga. All that shit is fake, King. You heard? And this is a known fact. When people do some actual reading, that the people of old would embellish, the people of ancient time would embellish. They wasn't running around with books. So they would be lying. Somebody asked them where they from, because that's a human thing. Humans always want to know where somebody from. Humans is this biologically nosy. They want, for purposes of survival, they want to know where you from, where you coming from, where you from, where you just came from, and all that. And you got whole 2,000-year periods in between the 2,000-year period. People was lying from this period, saying that they was the same descendant of this king's list, to somebody saying that 2,000 years later. You heard? So all of these receipts, spells, you heard? Pseudo-epigraphia, a bunch of terms and stuff from all type of places, this hodgepodge put together, you heard, has become the subtext and the subtotal of our spiritual experience. You ask a nigga, how do you say spiritual in another language from the continent? Say spiritual in an African language, and then you might learn something. But to say spiritual, oh, well, are you spiritual? Yeah, you spiritual. I say, oh, you spiritual? What the fuck do spiritual mean? It means espiritu. This means breathing. Yeah, you spiritual, nigga. You're breathing. That's it. You heard? That's it. You know what else is spiritual? What you call it? Pigeons. You heard? They breathe, don't they? You heard? So do foxes, lions, and tigers. You heard? They spiritual too then, ain't they? You heard? So back to Daath. How do you spell Daath in Hebrew? And it'll tell you what it is. The first letter in the archetype is Daleth. D. Daleth equals the door. What is the second letter? The second letter is Ayin. Ayin means the eye. The root of the word Daath is Daleth Ayin. That means the door eye. You hear what I'm saying? The door eye. Right. So the door eye, where's the door eye? Where's the eye of the door? What is the concept of the door? The door is an entry port. It's a way of entry and exit. You heard? But then the eye. So it's the central door, but then what is the last letter in the archetype? It's only 3 letters. Daleth, Ein, the last one is Thou. And Thou equals the cross, and it symbolizes the place. So Daath is the door, eye, place. You heard?
What about the H?
There's no H. So I spelled it to you in Hebrew. I didn't spell it in English. You heard?
Gotcha.
So you could write supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in Hebrew. You heard? So we wrote it in Hebrew for a reason, because that's where it comes from. You heard? So we know that the Hebrew encapsulates, right, the modality of the energetic field of what the word intends to express, or what it intends to display, that this is knowledge from up on high. You dig? From the door eye place. So when people see the eye on the dollar bill, a lot of people see the Illuminati, and you see it be from poverty. you want to justify why you impoverished, so you got to say that the some recessive crackers with billions of dollars and shit is all collectively under the eye of something over a pyramid is trying to oppress you. That's a good way to like explain away ignorance. You heard? I feel you. You heard? But when you see these archetypes, what is the I over the dollar bill? How is the I something outside of you? When since when did you got eye? Since when did you got two eyes that make you think that they telling the truth? But the whole eye that we've been talking about since ancient time is the eye inside of one's head. You heard? I'm under the impression that the whole human experience is just so the pineal gland can get an experience. All the organs in the body and even your toes and your fingers is all playing the part of allowing the pineal gland the ability to exist in the physical world. It is through the pineal gland that you are able to process symbols with your eyes closed, literally. You heard? For you to be able to hear the sounds and the terms inside your head, even if you was hearing impaired, it stands to say that that doesn't mean that they can't hear. You heard? Just because their apparatus for hearing may not be efficiently operational like the rest, it doesn't mean they don't have psychoacoustic value. You heard? Inside of the mind. Even people who was born without eyes still have, they can't see, but they still have sight. You understand what I'm saying? So Daath is the door eye place. It's the location where the dua. So you ever hear the Muslims say, hey, make dua for me, brother? You heard? They mean it, make a prayer for me. You heard? Prayers is usually made with one's eyes closed, and then this posture here, when you see the hands, prayer hands, like this or like this, this is called, in the Sumerian practice, this is called ikrabru prayers. You heard? This is where you get the term ikra from the Islamic parlance. When they tell the Muslim, they say they have a narrative where the Prophet Muhammad was illiterate and that an angel taught him how to read by pressing on his chest and saying ikra. You heard? Now these is the sounds in phonetic variables that have been morphogenically, but through morphologically, excuse me, transported through time and inserted into our general parlance in a way we express ourselves religiously. However, they have far ancient roles. So Ikrabu prayers was consistent with those who would make, and this is where they get that curse from, that they say all black people is cursed. I want my people to go to the text and go inside the text and go word for word and then find out, read my books. If you don't got my books, if you're waiting for my books, you a legend. If you don't got my books, you could be a legend. You heard? You just ain't get there yet. You heard? But we talking about everything we talking about. We speaking very clearly to it that the Bible is mistranslated West African sorcery, brothers and sisters. You heard? And ain't nobody African American never told nobody that. Ain't nobody on the planet speaking like this. It's people still in books trying to find historicity inside of our books. And it's known that the black man have no birth set record of birth or ending. You heard? You can't put me in a book, especially if I come from an oracular culture. You heard? We teach culture by not with books. When I teach you how to make bread, if I teach you how, this is our spiritual system, Rich. If I teach you how to prepare the grain, you heard, for consumption so we can have sustenance, that is religion. You understand? Not reading no book on Sunday, on Friday, and doing all this head bumping and everybody know everything and everybody going outside they self-sequestering the aid and assistance from spooky unseen forces. You heard? You got me fucked up. You crazy. And I remember sitting there, I remember as a child with all my innocence intact, praying like this. When the fuck is my father gonna come back? You heard? Every goddamn prayer, every God and all that. And then I figured out the shit don't got nothing to do with none of that. Socioeconomic problems. You heard? We got serious issues. We got whole nother sort of issues that God, in quotations, ain't finna solve none of them problems for niggas. Watch the news. Go watch the news. Where was Jesus at when they killed your homie? Where was Allah on the map when they snuck up on son and shot him? Where they was at? Nowhere to be found. You heard? So miss me with that. God is the operational use of the now to circumvent all type of dilemmas, to circumvent and create sustenance, and the ability to you know what I mean, to the ability to improve the quality of your life. That's what deity is. And not being afraid to ask for something. I'm not afraid to ask you to tell you my cash app. $ S Prince 111. If I said something that can help you. But I'm like this. Where is the deity that is stationed over all of the teachers in the community that protects them from being marginalized and ignored? You heard? I'm not going out like that, Rich. You feel me? I'm not going out like that. I need a few dollars. Promise you, son. Because that's where I could teach the best from, a space that honors that. You feel me? Yo, Africa's a beautiful place. When you go look at the people, they got flecks of gold all over their face. Where you think gold chains and all that come from, and thrones and all that? You think we getting over here so we could be looking crazy? You heard? Hell no.
Man, hey, you went ballistic tonight, man.
I did.
Yo, man, it's the energy of this room or something. Because last time you was here, you went in too, man.
No question.
Bro, listen, man. I want to I got about 20 minutes left because I was telling I got to get up early. Family, I know y'all enjoyed how AA just bought that shook it up right now.
Shout out to Chicago. Tell them I'm coming out there. I got the class in Chicago.
Tell them what's going on. And your book, both of that, please.
I got the myth making manual. It's a short treatise of advanced basic oversimplification to get you right to the point. You heard, without all the hemming and hawing. Fully illustrated. I got a whole deity list in there from A to Z of various deities that my students can pull actual operational principles out of the Akkadian and Sumerian to give you kind of an overview of what their psychology was like. If you really respect your people, you got to respect their mentality and how they was operating psychically. You heard? And a lot of that is you got to understand how they describe things, and they use gods to describe things. You heard? So in the absence of knowledge, all we have is this guesswork. And that's what the biblical narrative has just given the world, as a series of guesswork. And it has also allowed the European and the non-black and brown people to have a state of where they can oppress our people through these fancy, and they be manipulating us, son. They want us, they want niggas Christian, they want niggas Muslim, and they want you religiously as much as they can involved, you heard? Because then they can manipulate you and remove from you your ancient legacy, you heard? Which is sorcery, for real, and not playing with nobody.
Facts.
You heard?
I got I just got two questions for you before we get out of here, brother.
Yeah.
Before I do that though, if you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, the brother mentioned his Cash App. I'm gonna put that.
It's $.
Yeah. S Prince 111.
Yes, sir.
I got AA's Cash App. Also
and
have
they can buy the first 50 people that buy the book can get it for $49. After that, it's 86. You heard?
Did you tell them how to buy? You told them already how to buy.
Yeah, the myth make. They see me. If they got Instagram, it'd be very helpful because I like Instagram because it has a record of our interactions, and then you gotta feel weird asking me about something and you're not ready on Instagram. You heard? Shout out to the people that send me music and stuff, and the stuff. Like, to be honest with you, I'm so busy trying to create a legacy for our people regarding spirituality, that if I don't see nobody trying to participate in commerce, I tend to I delete your shit, man. I don't want to hear none of that shit. Don't share none of that shit with me, for real. Because primarily, especially if I don't know you, you heard, like that. Because I know my value, and I know intrinsically how very important I am. You heard, and I know about how people will squander your time. You dig what I'm saying? And the other thing I'm doing, brother Rich, is I truly appreciate you bringing me on this platform as well. If I didn't mention that before, I want to say that now. But another thing that I'm doing while supplies last is I'm giving out these consultations. You heard?
Mm-hmm.
And I can guarantee, with the laurels of my mind, I know for a fact that if you're already about your business and you're trying to sell a product, you need to allocate yourself a budget to advance and broaden your horizons with the thing that's missing from it. And that majority of the times, a lot of you who endeavor to sell and make products and things, what's missing from your product is art, you heard? And a direction for marketing. But how can you get into that if you're not connected to someone who is in the realm of esotericism and spirituality and knows the sacred geometric formulas for enticing the mind to activate? You know what I mean? To get into into focus. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we offering people. So if they can meet me and hit me in the Instagram world, is dope, on the direct message. You know what I mean? That's dope. But stay tuned for the details. We in Chicago. I'm not finna be putting the address of where we doing the class up on the thing, but no, we gonna be in Wicker Park, Chicago. And then when you pay, you get the address and all that. You pull up and bring your notes, bring your papers, your pad. We doing it like old school. You remember, Rich, when people used to really come to lectures and learn?
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? People be walking out of there with notebooks, and a lot of people still living off them notebooks, man. For real. I cherish those notes. I got a flyer from a Reverend Valentine event at the what's that, Brown Coffee Cafe? Black chocolate, something like.
I know what you told, chocolate cafe or something. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And my mother, God bless her, was there, and she wrote her notes from what she learned from then on the back of that flyer, and I still got that flyer. You heard?
Amazing.
So those are cherished things for us. This is our community, man. This is beautiful. And you remember when people were sitting up ignoring us, we had to go outside and sell DVDs and tell niggas that they didn't know nothing. You remember that?
Yeah.
Oh man,
the days,
praise.
right?
I promise you, King.
Man, family, once again, make sure you hit up the Cash App, my Cash App, $ Black Magic 363. If you enjoy what I bring to the community on this channel, family. Like I said, I just got to two questions, really, my brother. One is something that somebody wrote in the chat earlier. I didn't write the individual name down, but somebody in the chat wrote earlier, the fear of dark matter creates the horror film genre. The Freddy Kruegers, all this that we see, how accurate do you think is that statement? The fear of this dark matter that we talk about has created a whole genre.
I believe that it's if you see who generates the films, these come out the psychology of white male psychology. So white male psychology, you're talking about a brain that doesn't have dark substantia nigra. You heard? Is fearful of rhythm. It's fearful of the cosmic patterns of time and change. You heard? And oftentimes, it's like a self-saboteur. almost to himself to sabotage the peace that could be acquired in the darkness. They'll malign and create the darkness as an instrument of destruction. You heard? Just to explain away the ignorance. You feel me? And you see there's a lot of people, a lot of black men in particular, people don't speak to us like this, or address or even acknowledge the fact that we come outside every day and we experience a great deal of racial trauma in the form of racial bias, and people, it's like the intrinsic, it's inside of them. It's like implicit bias. Like they see us and it'd be so subtle. Like you could be in a bookstore in an aisle and somebody's looking for a specific book. You might be standing in front of the bookshelf. They see your black ass. They turn around. They forget about reading. They forget that they can read. You heard? They just be like, oh, fuck that. I'm out of here. They do that shit in supermarkets and all that. You heard? I'll just come back. It's a nigger in aisle 6. I'm good on that. You heard? For real. So that the person who said that is correct, but so they don't walk in error. Or not so much walk in error, but add to whatever was offered in the question, is to add this to that narrative, that even the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and he was like a big racist. You know, my daughter brought that to my attention. You know, when I was like with the Lovecraft Country stuff, and she was like, I don't really like Lovecraft because he didn't like blacks. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is out of a 12-year-old's mind. You know what I'm saying? So when I be seeing people be all in the Cthulhu and all of that stuff, I'm like, y'all really don't know what y'all doing. You heard? Because you're using fictional narrative and you've actually animated and brought it into real life. You heard? For ritual purposes. Same thing with Jesus. I mean, the nigga Jesus be working on that cross, man. The whiter the Jesus, that motherfucker magical. Pull his stupid ass out around some evil at this point. You heard? So, you know, I learned this from occultists and serious spiritual people. It's called, you can dovetail on a prayer. You heard? You can go dovetail a message on an established spiritual lie, and it'll have merit. You heard? Because this is how the energy of the universe works. It's if no one is here to acknowledge something, it doesn't exist. But we're here as acknowledgement factors. You heard? The whole matrix is about our eyes' ability to access and judge what we see. If there wasn't nobody to watch nothing, there wouldn't be no nothing to call that. You feel me?
Last question, real quick, my brother AA. Being a student of Kabbalah as well, and knowing about Daath, and you know, you was just talking about the blackness and the substantia nigra, student of metaphysics, you know about dark matter consciousness, you know about so much science dealing with this blackness and this darkness, and also being associated with the Moors. Does it ever get confusing to hear both sides fight about you shouldn't call yourself black when you know the cosmic origins of who we are and how brilliant and how powerful the dark side is? Like,
see, I had to find a space to answer your question, to occupy where I did not want to become one of the people that create argumentation amongst us over little small things. You heard? Now, I remember when that was going on, and that created to me the biggest rupture in the community. You heard? To some people say, I'll tell you this, bro, you safer in hip hop than being in the conscious community back in the day. You heard? Them niggas, everybody was against each other. Message
war zone.
I swear to God. And it was all over ideologies and words and shit like that. This is before the YouTube started paying people too. So niggas was doing that shit for free, King. You heard? So now it's a lot of Johnny come lately people with this late conversation over those colors and what they're calling this and calling that. And I'm like a multi-level genius and a multi-talented person, and I'm like an artist in multi-disciplines. So when I hear the color black, I hear a process. You heard? I hear ancient process, and I hear cosmic reality. You heard? Now, when I hear somebody saying that in commerce and in commercial things, and that they'll play you and they do this and they do that. I understand that narrative as well. It's up to me, however, you heard. I don't want to be in no court, son, explaining myself to nobody. That shit might be cool to somebody that want to play in the traffic with the white folks. You dig what I'm saying? You always, niggas, you always need to explain who you is to the cracker, because you always in the cracker face. You heard? You always in this white boy face asking him to validate and sign your paper and look at your papers and do this with the papers and do all that shit. And I'm like, man, if that's what you want to do, then you do your shit. You heard? Do that shit. You the one fuck with that legal shit. You got to know all the meanings of words. You heard? You better know them for real. But I'm not finna be around nobody I got to explain that shit to. That's like root. That's remedial to me. You heard? For real.
Man, like I said, once again, brother, before we get out here, tell them how they could get the book so they won't forget.
All they need is a few dollars. You heard? I got the classic, the Dog Star Hip Hop series. Those is $106. The Myth Making Manual, I'm only doing a short, limited number. After the first 50, I'm doing a short run after that, and then we on to the next one. We're doing a part 4 to the Dog Star Hip Hop that's coming out, and then I also have a hip hop, Kabbalistic hip hop sigil making manual. You heard? That's coming out, because I hear my peoples always talk about sigils and with a lack of knowledge. They don't be knowing what the fuck they be talking about sometimes. Because you're gonna need a lot of algebra. To perform that task, and a great imagination so that you can actually transform nuanced numeric meaning into the celestial components, which it means, into artistic endeavor. You know what I'm saying? So I got a whole blueprint for that. And then I'm trying to just teach people how to learn, bro. You heard?
Excellent.
It's all right to not know something, but what's worse is not to know how to learn.
Ooh.
You know?
Excellent way to end the show. Once again, my brother, I thank you for coming through to Black Magic 363
Peace
Studios.
I see y'all in Chicago.
He's gonna see y'all in Chicago. Thanks for everybody. We got over 2,000 people in the chat, man.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we
got
over 2,000. Shout out to all y'all in the chat. I definitely appreciate the support. Family, I will see you tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, Wayne Chandler. Make sure y'all out here. This is the master teacher now. And I'm not saying, that word is thrown around real loosely now. This dude is really on his shit. You know what I'm saying? So promise you. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, family. Peace.